That...
Hey.
Chinchilla?
That's right, chinchilla. Oh, it had such a cute...
No.
So, Shiro, you should see yourself right now.
I'd appreciate you sticking to the point. I'm not man of time, you know.
All right. But first, we need to know where you stand. Who is Ebina to you?
The visionary responsible for the Second Great Dissolution. And a man after Masumi Arakawa's own heart.
We thought the same at first. But in light of his recent behavior, I'm sure you've noticed something's up by now.
Yeah. The Second Dissolution's just a smokescreen. A shiny ad to pull in fresh recruits. But I found that out too late. After sending Ichi to Hawaii.
Gee, isn't the timing convenient?
It does sound that way. But if it was a lie, I'd expect something a bit more convincing.
He has a point. Look at that. Your slimy reputation precedes you. And it's in your favor.
Let's talk about Kasuga in Hawaii. He's there to lure out Akane-san, isn't he? And it was Ebina who proposed that. Likely to curry favor with Bryce. Sound right?
Right on the money.
If that's the case, why are you still working with him? You had to have known. The hell Akane-san's going through, dodging death at every turn. Isn't she the woman your boss loved?
Yeah, but don't forget, Ichi's over there. As long as he's in Hawaii, Akane-san's in good hands.
Placing your bets on Kasuga-kun, are we? Sounds like you trust him.
Something like that. But with him on the job, I can focus on the real work I gotta do.
Real work? And that would be...
Putting Ebina's fake plan into action. I'm gonna see the Second Great Dissolution through.
Huh?
But if I have any hope of doing that, I need to know Ebina's true motive.
Motive for what?
The waste management business he's running with Polycana. It has something to do with nuclear reactors. Specifically, the waste these reactors pump out.
What?
Nuclear waste? As in, from power plants?
Yeah. On one end, there's spent fuel rods, which can still be repurposed and weaponized. Without strict protocols in place, they could easily fall into the wrong hands. On the other end, there's dirt, water, concrete, equipment, and what have you that end up getting contaminated. These are considered low-level radioactive waste, and while they're not as deadly, there's a lot of it. And with Japan dragging its heels in the decommissioning process, we're left with mountains of waste that'll remain toxic for centuries. The best they can do is silo it off in temporary storage facilities and hope a solution arises in the future.
Oh yeah, I hear about that on the news every now and again. No matter where they try to build these facilities, the locals always fight against it.
That's precisely what Polycana honed in on. For over 20 years, they've been stashing nuclear waste from around the globe on their private island. You know it as.
Nelly Island, right? According to Polycana, that's paradise. A reward for only the chosen.
Yeah. Real fitting, isn't it?
Using sacred ground to hide away toxic waste. Bryce has a real sense of humor.
Also, the fee they charge for processing the waste isn't cheap. And I'm sure Ebina gets a nice cut. But beyond that, I still don't know where all our ex-Yakuza factor in. My guess is they're needed for loading and transport.
So that's it then. Ebina's yet another money-hungry maniac. Now, I know I shouldn't say this, but hear me out for a second. If Polykhana's willing to bear the brunt of Japan's nuclear waste problem, in spite of all the issues, isn't it a win for the country?
From what I understand, each country's responsible for its own nuclear waste. How does Ebina plan on going around the law?
Well, he won't have to if they loosen regulations. Politicians, bureaucrats, and investors are all waiting to jumpstart the nuclear industry in Japan. And to keep the money flowing, they'd build even more reactors if they could. And naturally, they'd also welcome any waste disposal method that seems convenient. So if one day you hear the TV saying how the government wants to ship its waste offshore, that means they've already started trying to sway public opinion. And eventually, a change in legislation will follow.
Wow, that's insane, right? There's a chance Ebina and Polykhana could legally be in the clear. If only it weren't the Yakuza and a cult, I might have just took it and shrugged. Sorry if this sounds biased, but there has to be an ulterior motive somewhere.
There absolutely is.
In other words, you're sticking with Ebina to figure out that motive.
Yes.
You say that, but did you really need to blow Kiryu-san's cover? You know, on the Tatara channel?
I merely read the script I was given.
Alright.
It's true that for Ebina, the second dissolution might just be a means to an end. However, if Masumi Arakawa were alive, this is something he would have wanted. And if whatever Ebina's planning would subvert that, I'll bring him down from the very foundation.
I see.
When that time comes, I would hope to have the Dragon of Dojima's support. That's why I went through all this, to speak with you.
How could the Great Dissolution we forged with the Tojo clan and the Omi Alliance crumble like this? People put their lives on the line to open up a path for the future. But all it took was 4 years to fail.
Kiryu-san.
Guess your plans weren't so airtight. As a country, Japan's not exactly kind to those who make mistakes. Far from it, actually. So yeah, these ex-Yakuza had nowhere to turn but Ebina. Getting back on their feet wasn't an option.
No, something's not right. It shouldn't have been like this. This wasn't the plan they told me about. The plan we all believed in.
Sorry, who are they?
The leaders of the Great Dissolution. Daigo Dojima, 6th chairman of the Tojo clan, along with Goro Majima and Taiga Saejima.